Howdy to everybody watching this posting, I suppose. I hope you all had an amazing Christmas and a good New Year. Apologies, there wasn't much content from me. I went up to my mum's from like the 27th, or I went to Katie's mum's from the 26th or 25th. Oh, I can't remember the days. Anyway, I was away basically, is what I'm getting at up until yesterday, and then I felt super ill, and then yeah. So apologies, there was no content, but there will be as of are we on the first today? I'm away tomorrow. So as of the 3rd of January is when all of the stuff will come. More shorts, more live streams, more videos, more Instagram posts, more TikToks. Literally basically more of everything because I am now going officially full-time in it. So apologies that I've been away, but I'm back now and I will be doing more than ever before. So yeah, if you're interested in any of my like coaching services, all of that is linked below, along with Katie's channel, Katie's Etsy, all of that stuff. So with that out of the way, let's get into the comments. Satyam says, hey, howdy. Blanca says, Happy New Year, guys. Happy New Year to you too. Crimson Music says, hey, A, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too. H says, A, or hey, howdy, H. Melis, is that Melis? Yeah, Melis says, Happy New Year, guys. Happy New Year to you too. Satyam says, can I manifest white pale skin? So supposedly you can manifest sort of any sort of physical appearance change. I've not manifested anything like skin changes. Obviously, I've done other things that could like muscle growth and all that kind of stuff. But other than that, I've not really done skin change stuff. But I have heard from other coaches that it is possible, and they have success stories of people doing so. So by that standard, yes, absolutely. If we could all like the video as well, just or the live stream, it just helps it get pushed out to more people. And you never know, someone might ask a question you didn't know the answer, you didn't know you needed the answer for. I'm also still a little bit ill, so if I sound a bit gross, then I do apologize. I actually got home yesterday from traveling, and like I was okay on the way on like the 3-hour drive home, and then as soon as like I got in the door, everything just started falling apart. And last night I just spent like the vast majority of the night in bed. I was absolutely fucked. um, Blanca says, so I just found out my SP got engaged to his ex. Please advise, what can I affirm? Okay, so in this kind of situation, also apologies for the creaking. Katie's upstairs, like sorting some stuff out. So in the kind of situations when you're experiencing something that you don't want to experience, you have to remember that your desired version of yourself who's experiencing the desired reality wouldn't be experiencing that thing. Therefore, there's no reason why it should ever be in your awareness. So the first thing is to remove any kind of attention, any thoughts, feelings, or actions that are based on the fact that he is engaged to someone else, and instead place them on the idea or on the reality of you being married to him or with him or whatever it is that you want to receive. You just say, please advise, what can I affirm? So I don't know what your end result is, but I'm assuming it'll obviously be a relationship at the very least. So my advice to you would be remove all attention that you may possibly have from like what's going on, the situation that you don't like, and instead place it on the idea of you being with him. And an affirmation you could use is, I'm in the most loving, passionate, committed relationship with insert person, or the love insert person and I have for each other grows stronger and stronger every day. Things of that nature. It doesn't have to be anything like crazy paragraphs long, just something, thank you, that implies that you have this relationship right now and take your awareness away from what's currently going on. Paula says, Happy New Year. May you all be great manifestors. Thank you very much. Hopefully you will be too. I have a video going live tomorrow about kind of just something to take into 2023 with you. I didn't want to be one of those 2023 people, but unfortunately it does really well in the algorithm, so I had to. But that goes live tomorrow, so hopefully that'll help you out. It's I think it might be a little bit different to what most people would do for like a 2023 video, but we'll have to see. So tomorrow when that goes live at about 6 o'clock UK time, go check it all out and hopefully it'll help you have a great 2023. There's a little bit of like a personal background at the end of the video as well, so stick out for that. Daniela says, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too. Carolina says, hey, what SC issue do you think it is that I care so much about how I look, and I'd get anxious leaving the house if I didn't look good, or avoiding seeing people if I didn't think I looked a certain way? In my opinion, that would be you don't feel attractive enough to be the way that you are without like covering up, sort of a validation from other people. It would mainly just be, well, I mean, it's very simple. You don't think you look good enough unless you have something to cover it up, and that would be the self-concept problem. So to work on it, you would have to start working on appreciating your visuals as they are now, instead of like once you've done stuff to them. But yeah, just needing to have more appreciation for yourself and not need as much validation from other people. Because I also imagine the element, if no one else ever existed and it was just you on this planet, you'd probably walk outside without makeup. So there's the element of, obviously, you're worrying what other people think of you purely because of how you think of you.
I think it probably would have stemmed from having maybe a not so great group of friends as a child. And like as a young person, because I find that that's where mine sort of came from. Even starting at a very, very young age, there was like ridiculous standards and stuff like that. So it's probably a much deeper sort of consistent thing that's been going on. So it's about getting over the fact that nothing else really matters, sort of thing. Nothing from then till now matter.
Yes. But yeah, so hopefully that helps out a little bit. Melis says, my manifestation hasn't come yet, and this makes me angry. Why does it make you angry? Other than obviously the element of it's not here yet, but why are you getting angry over it? What's that stemming from? Is it stemming from I'm wasting my time? Is it stemming from manifestation doesn't work? Is it stemming from I could be doing something else instead? Where's the anger coming from? It'd probably be easier to figure that out. It'd be worth figuring that out and then working on addressing that going forward. Aditi says, how do I manifest my boyfriend to be loving and romantic with me? So the first thing, very similar to the other person who said about their specific person being engaged to someone else, the first thing is you obviously want to remove any attention away from that being the case currently, or any attention away from that not being the case currently. I'm just posting this on Instagram, by the way, so if you see me looking at my phone, that's why. Because in your desired reality where you are with this person and he's like loving and passionate and all of these kind of things, romantic, such as what you want with him, you wouldn't be experiencing a version of him that isn't like that. You wouldn't be experiencing a version of him that isn't loving, isn't romantic and everything. So therefore, there's no reason why that should ever enter your awareness, why seeing him as not romantic and loving is ever something that you are placing your focus on. Obviously, you're noticing it because of, obviously, we can't just fully ignore the 3D, and you're obviously coming here asking for help. But that would be my first bit of advice, is to try to look past it, because it's just as important not to recreate what you don't want as it is to just straight up create what you do want. So yeah, the first bit of advice would be to let go of anything that shows you that he isn't currently the way that you want him to be. Then the second part is to get clear on what romantic and loving looks like to you, because obviously what your romance could be would be completely different to what my romance could be. So the first thing in terms of being proactive with it would be to get clear on what romance, loving, all that looks like to you, and then start to assume that he is already that case. Your dominant state is what manifests. So if you're dominantly going, he's not being like this to me, therefore you will continue to receive that. Whereas if you start to shift it, and even if he's not been the most romantic that day, you can tell yourself that he's been lovely today. I loved how he treated me XYZ way. You could revise the day if you wanted. But what needs to happen is your mind needs to be going through an end result in which he is currently that romantic and loving, and your mind needs to be taken away or straight away from the reality in which he is not. And therefore, you're no longer creating the old, and you're now starting to create the new. H says, I do get thoughts from past like resentment and shit, but I flip from the get-go. So that's all that can be asked of you. There's not a single person on this planet that will never have a resentful thought or a regretful thought or a mournful thought or anything like that. But if you dwell on it, and if you really feel like crap, and if you panic, and if you do all of these sorts of things, then you're only going to run the potential of creating more of it. But if you go, okay, I'm thinking of that, I'm just going to flip it, that's all that can really be asked of you. And you just keep persisting in this until further down the line you end up being the person that you want to be and having the desire that you want to have. Jade Lamb says, is there any time you feel like you fall out of the Sabbath state? So the Sabbath state is an interesting one. It's just a state of just like bliss and calm. A lot of the time it comes with letting go of the need for the desire, and that's usually like a very good place to come from. You fall out of it when you start to, fall out of it really, when you start to let go of that calmness, that blissness, and you start to then go, okay, well, I've been in the Sabbath state, where is it? Or this thing's triggered me, because the Sabbath state, I mean, it says it in the name, it's a state, which means you can enter it, but you can also leave it just as easily as you enter it. Being in the Sabbath state doesn't necessarily mean that now that I've reached this part, that's it. It's smooth running. So it's not like the final 100 meters of the marathon. You have to keep at the full pace. You have to keep ensuring you're not falling out of it by redirecting focus to it or just letting it happen as it may. But in terms of, is there any time you feel like you fall out of the Sabbath state? when I start to fall out of it, if that makes sense. If I start to dwell on what's happening or what I don't have or anything like that, that is me stepping out of the state of having, because the Sabbath state is that. It's usually just that inner place of knowing that it's done, that inner calmness of whether or not I have it, it's done sort of thing. Satyam says, please can I manifest dark blue eye and 6 foot height, white pale skin, and become very handsome and very attractive? I mean, like I said earlier to your other question, because I'm pretty sure it was you that asked about the pale skin as well. Yes, it was. Other coaches have said that it can happen and that they have success stories with it. I haven't really had anyone even come to me for those kinds of physical appearance changes. Therefore, I don't have any success stories from it. Like I said, I've worked on it in my own regard with certain things, not like changing eye color or anything like that, but I've done it in terms of like muscle growth and stuff like that, which I've definitely noticed a severe improvement in compared to where I was when I first started doing stuff. So I have it in that regard, but I don't have anything else that implies that you can. But that's just because I don't have the testing nor the success stories from other people. I know Katie has a point on this though.
I don't really have a point. I have manifested like physical appearance changes, but again, nothing along the lines of eye color or anything like that. Mine has been more to do with like hair growth and like weight loss and like things like that. And yes, I do find they go quite well. And yeah, so I've lost my train of thought. Every time he leaves, I get nervous and then I can't speak. But no, so I think that naturally people kind of have an assumption that there are things that can't be changed, which you're then fighting against that assumption from everybody else. Because if you were to go up to somebody and you were 5 foot and go, oh, by the way, soon I'm going to be 6 foot, the instant reaction from them is that they would sort of like laugh and be like, no way, sort of thing like that. So there's this natural assumption in everybody and everybody around you that will say that you can't do it. So I think for things like that, because there's already this assumption that no, it doesn't happen or it can't happen, you have not only the sort of a little bit of self-doubt going on, but you have the assumption that no one believes that you can do it, therefore is it even possible, kind of thing. So you have to really, really work on that first, I'd say. Get out the idea that it can never happen and sort of not listen to anybody around you saying that it can't happen, and fight through that sort of boundary first before you were to then go ahead and like get to it. Because I do think that in you there are certain things that no matter how hard you try, it's quite difficult to persuade yourself that you can do it or that you that can happen, kind of thing. So yeah, I'd say that there's like, I guess, more of an assumption collectively that it's not possible, therefore that's why people struggle and that's why there's not so many success stories in those kind of things. But anything is possible, and once you sort of crack that and get to the idea that anything is possible, then yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know if Katie said it, but like I said earlier, there's other coaches that have their own success stories of it. So it's definitely out there if you wanted to have a look around to see if it's possible. Blanca says, sorry, apologies, I'm still, like I said, a bit ill. So can I say we are married like I am married to my SP, I am on his mind 24/7, and I am the love of his life? Absolutely. Those are all affirmations that you can use if that's what you want to happen. The only thing I will say, and this is just because a lot of the other people that I've come across that say stuff like I'm on his mind 24/7, try not to be too like obsessive, because that usually comes from a place of desperation as opposed to a place of love. Like you don't want to be on your person's mind 24/7. But if it's just like a nice little affirmation just because that's what you want, then go ahead with it. But yeah, just be careful on that regard. But other than that, yes, those are absolutely fine.
And I think you need to be kind of specific with that, because if you want to be on someone's mind 24/7, you want it to be a good thing. You don't want to be on their mind 24/7 because they are going, oh, fucking hate her. Or do you know what I mean? Whatever it is. So I think that you need to be a bit, specific with, this is why I'm on their mind, because I'm amazing, because they think I'm incredible, because they think about me all the time, because, like they think about how beautiful I am and stuff like that. So I think that, yeah, be specific, but also not be obsessive.
Yes. AM says, hi, Katie.
Hi.
Carolina says, because I know I'm attractive, etc., and I get that attention from people, so I feel like I have to upkeep that appearance that I'm known for, even though I know I'm not loved just because of my looks. Yeah, so that will obviously be coming from, like I said, a state of needing validation from others. Like I said, if there was no one else that existed, you'd probably go out without makeup. because there would be no purpose to it, because the point of makeup is to be more appealing to other people. Regardless of what anyone says, I'm not taking any other answer as an option.
I don't like to look at my own face without makeup on, so I wear makeup for my appearance, for me to look at my face and be like, yeah, it looks good.
The whole 3 times you look at your face in a day.
Oh my goodness, you've never seen me look at my face.
But anyway, yeah, so it goes back to the point of you need validation from other people, because otherwise you wouldn't care. Like I said, if you were to go outside, you with no one existing, then 99% of the time, unless you're Katie, who's the 0.1%, you wouldn't bother put makeup on. And because you need them to say to you and appreciate your looks, which is why you feel like you need to upkeep them, because their validation matters to you. So what I would recommend for you is to work on validating yourself without the makeup. And there's no reason why you shouldn't have to wear makeup. Why you shouldn't wear makeup. It's not like you need to fix yourself so that you can go out without makeup. If you enjoy it, absolutely go and like use it. There's no reason not to. You know, like I really like wearing suits out, for example. Like there's no reason why I should stop wearing suits just because I now feel better in tracky bottoms and a top. But yeah, that would be where it's stemming from. You need their validation. You feel like you need to upkeep it because you feel like without their validation, you don't have as much self-worth, basically. And that would be where you would need to work on it from. Melis says, sometimes I forget, what am I manifesting right now? Is this normal? I suppose so, to an extent. Not necessarily, I've never really heard it from that perspective, but a lot of the times I hear people say, like, I forget to manifest because it's just not that important to me anymore, or I feel more normal in a day-to-day basis, so I'm not thinking about it constantly and I just forget to do it. That's perfectly normal. I'd probably say what you're doing is probably quite normal as well, because if you're trying to manifest yourself being in a certain way, obviously when you are already in that way, you don't think about it all the time. Like I said earlier to the other person's comment about being on the mind 24/7 blankers, you don't want to be on your person's mind 24/7. So if they're not on your mind 24/7, even if it's just not your person, but your desire overall, that's usually a good sign that it's becoming more natural to you. And if you're forgetting about it, sure, I forget that Katie exists when I'm at the gym sometimes. I'm sure Katie does the same thing to me. So I think it's perfectly normal to forget about your desires here and there, because especially if your life's going well and it doesn't revolve around this one thing, there's no reason for you to hold on to it 24/7.
It's sort of just like out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when you're really absorbed into something else, there's like, if I'm sat there writing in my book, I'm not going to be thinking about what I need to do at work tomorrow kind of thing. It's not your current focus.
Exactly. Sprinkled Peace Donor says, does robotic affirming work? So it does and it doesn't. Okay, so no, it does. Yes, it does. But it may not work as effectively, because the whole point of like any kind of technique is to get you thinking, feeling, and acting from the end result. It's that kind of, it's placing you in the end as if you're there. If you're kind of robotic affirming, a lot of the time, you're not really thinking about what you're saying, and therefore you're not actually really feeling into it. Now, it does work, because stating, you would obviously have to have the thought in order to make the statement. Even if it's robotic, you would still have to have some kind of mental capacity being involved in order to make that statement in that moment. But it could sometimes be an issue if you're just robotic affirming all the time, because you're not really feeling into it. And like I said, the dominant state is what manifests. So if you're robotic affirming, but maybe only 10% of that robotic affirming is even actually really being felt into, then it can sometimes create that situation where, yes, you may be affirming, but you're not feeling into it. And it's the state that manifests, not the statement itself. It's the state in which you're thinking from. And yeah, so it can work and it also doesn't work. It depends on you while doing it, but it works better than thinking of the old story. So I suppose if you're doing it in order to replace that, then it's all good. Satyam says, please can I manifest dark? Oh, did I answer that one? I swear I answered that one, right? Oh, they put it again. It's just because I hadn't got around to it yet. So they put it again. Oh, a lot of comments today. RSW44 says, can I manifest relationship with a long-time crush? I just see many manifesting exes. It makes doubts if I can manifest a new relationship with an SP. Yeah, so you can manifest basically anything. The only reason why a lot of it is exes is because a lot of people find that they put way too much into the person that they're with right now. And then when they lose them, they feel like there's a hole that needs to be filled. And that's why a lot of people do come for exes, because they found a way that gives them the hope that they can get them back. And that's why it's the most common thing, regardless of any channel that you're involved in, sorry, any channel that you're watching, they will all say the same thing of, oh, so they will all have videos where it's a specific person and specific exes and all that lot that are like way higher. For example, my highest watched video is Manifest Your Ex Back and it's 30k views. I only have 4,000 subscribers, so it's 26,000 more people than I even have subscribed to me. That's why there's most of them are X stuff, because it just does the best. But that doesn't mean that you can't do it with anything else. You can manifest anything else, whether it's a long-term crush, a long-term crush, an old friend, anything like that. It's anyone. I'm going to put this over here because my sister's messaging me and it's kind of distracted. But yeah, so you can, absolutely. It doesn't have to be an ex, doesn't have to be a friend, doesn't have to be someone you even know, for example. Blanca says, I deactivated my Facebook so I don't see that at all either and focus on what I want. I just manifested £1,000 bonus from work. Okay, so deactivating Facebook and all that lot so you don't have to see it is obviously really great. You don't necessarily have to deactivate it. You can just remove the people. But if that's what works best for you, then absolutely go ahead with it. And congratulations for manifesting £1,000 bonus. That's like really cool. That's a big old number to get for a bonus for sure. Jade Lamb says, I like the sweatshirt Katie is wearing.
Oh, thank you. It's a man's one from Boohoo Man.
Yeah, it's quite nice.
I bought it for Matt and he didn't like it, so it's mine now.
It's because it didn't fit right.
It's size. It's like one of those baggy ones. I feel like really it's designed for like women who want to wear men's hoodies. That's what I think it's designed for. Yeah. Because I don't think men really like this shaped hoodie. So.
John M says, hey, what things can I do to shift to a better or ideal state when I'm feeling kind of permanent melancholy, anxiety, like sad worry? I think it's okay. So I think I'd look deeper into it. So when you say sad anxiety, what is it that you're sad worry? Sorry, melancholy, anxiety. What is it that you're anxious about? What is it that you're sad about? What is it? Because like depression, sadness, all those kind of things, they come from the past. They come from thinking about what once was. Fear, anxiety, all those kind of stuff comes from what's to come. So it means that you're not really operating yourself in this current moment, which is obviously one thing to work on, but figure out where they're coming from. Why are you sad, depressed, or anything like that? Or why are you anxious, fearful, and all that kind of stuff going forward? And see if you can work on it from a root cause, if you can tackle those directly, i.e. I'm scared of XYZ happening because it will make me feel like XYZ. And start to tackle why it's that big of a problem. In terms of the present moment, like I said, in this present moment, none of these things exist. They're all just thoughts about the future or thoughts about the past, which means if you're doing something to anchor yourself to this present moment, you can quite easily, I say quite easily, you can quite effectively like blank slate yourself. So the one thing that I recommend to a lot of people is either meditation or breath work, because when you do so and you focus on each breath or you focus on like how you feel internally and stuff like that, you're anchoring yourself again to this present moment. And those things cannot exist in this present moment because they're based on the future or the past. And that you can usually put yourself in kind of a neutral standpoint, and then you can choose to flip your awareness to something that is more desirable for you. Sometimes if you feel it in your body, it's always good to do some sort of like physical action, whether it be like doing some sort of workout or, you know, I don't know, just releasing energy by doing a whole bunch of star jumps. It depends on obviously what you're comfortable doing. But if you feel it in your body quite a lot, then it's always good to try and release it through your body. Some people like to punch a pillow. That works quite well. But yeah, see where it's coming from and see if any of those sort of suggestions might help. But it's always good to anchor yourself to the present moment. Pranver says, hello, howdy, Pranver. Aditi says, please help me in brief about your experience manifesting a certain behavior in a relationship with Katie. What did you do? I did exactly what I sort of recommended you to do, where I took my attention away from what I wasn't too keen on and kind of focused on a situation which it was already the case. Because even just taking your awareness off of something you don't like is enough to make it stop. It's only because someone does something and then you're like, oh, why'd they do that? And why did they do this? And blah, 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 that you end up creating more of it for yourself anyway. And a lot of times, the more that you do try to focus, even if you say it in the 3D, you start pushing in the 3D, like you need to stop doing this, you need to start doing this. It can sometimes be detrimental to you in the long run, unless you're sort of creating a boundary in which you're like willing to step back. Then it can simply saying you need to stop doing this, but then stay spiraling based on it is not usually a good thing to do. And like I said in my recommendation to you, I literally just changed what it was that I was placing my awareness on. Every time she did something that was more in line with what I'd prefer, then I just kept focusing on that. And every time she did something that wasn't, I just take myself out of the situation.
I was just gonna say, as well, with like behaviors that you don't like in a like relationship, I think a lot of people tend to somewhat gossip about them. So, you know, they'll go and say, oh, so and so did this and it's really upset me, or so and so's done this and it's made me really angry. And although in the moment it feels like you need to get it out and tell somebody, the thing is with that is that that person will often repeat it back to you over and over again. So even when you've then mentally moved past it and you're over it and it's gone and you're not thinking about it anymore, the next time you go and see that friend, they're like, oh, is so and so still doing this, or have they done this now, or have they said sorry for that? And then it's back in your brain again and you're thinking about it again and you're putting more attention on the fact that they've done something that's really upset you, and then you end up talking about it again, and then you go home and that thing happens again, because you're back into that pattern of thinking about how much they do it and how they've done this and how they've done that, and then it repeats itself over and over again. So like it might be worth changing the ways that you sort of speak to other people about things, and like sort of not necessarily bottling up, because bottling up is never a good idea with anything, but actually maybe just think about those who are going to say, oh, that's really sad, and then move past it, and then think about the ones that are going to go, oh, do they still do that? Do they still do this? Do they, because we all have those friends. There's some that are just like, oh, okay, well, guess what happened to me? And like they're the good ones to sort of like scream things at, because they'll never ever bring it up again. They'll just tell you what happened to them. But then you have the other friends who are like kind of like obsessive over it, and they will speak about it every single time you see them, and you're thinking about it again.
Yeah. Carolina says thank you, and then Emma says dating a single dad. He has a daughter, no custody over her, and I'm nervous how to make him an involved dad. I can't stop thinking about the fact that he doesn't see his daughter, and it makes me sad. It makes me think he's not a good guy, but I like him. Okay. So again, same thing as what I just sort of recommended to the person above, is you want to take your attention away from the fact that he's got a daughter that he doesn't see, and instead place it on the idea of him currently seeing this daughter regularly, full-time, whatever it is that you're sort of interested in having. But you need to definitely not see him as a bad guy, not because whether or not that's true, whether he's a good guy or bad guy for not seeing his kid, but seeing him as a bad guy or not being sure if he's a good guy because he doesn't see his kid is obviously just reinforcing the fact that he doesn't see it. So what you need to do is try to see him as a good guy because he sees his kid, don't really have the wavering about whether he does or doesn't, and just sit in a reality in which you are with him and he has his daughter with however much custody that you have. Depending on the technique you can use, you can obviously create scenes and statements that imply he already has his daughter, or that you see him with his daughter, or you spend time as like a three, or whatever your end result is, essentially. But yeah, you want to take your attention away from the fact that he doesn't see her and instead place it on the idea that he does. AM says, do you have kids together? I'm going to let Katie answer this one.
Yeah.
Jade Lamb says, why is it that the negative experience seems to imprint on the subconscious mind faster than the positive thing? Curious about this. Because it's the way that you assign it to be true. So our minds are very much based to pick out the worst case scenario. And because of that, it's a lot easier for us to feel into it as though it's true. Like when someone knocks on the door, for example, it's so much easier to immediately assume that it's the police, or that it's like someone coming to get you, or at least for me anyway, or like some shit like that. And it's like, because these are all things, your body has to be in that fight or flight. It's like someone's knocked on the door. This could be a threat. This could be someone giving us free Easter eggs. But what's the likelihood of it being a threat compared to something beneficial? They're just as equal, but your mind needs to be prepared for it to be a threat. Therefore, when it comes to negative situations and thoughts and feelings and actions, we feel into them much more because we need to associate with them in order to be able to create that kind of reaction so that we know what to do in the moment. This is why it's a lot easier for our subconscious mind to pick up on it, because our subconscious mind is literally there to help run our lives. So if we're thinking about the worst case scenario, it takes it on because this sucks. I need to make sure that I'm ready for it, essentially. And also, depending on your situation as it is right now, if you're saying, oh, they don't want me, and you're currently in a situation where the 3D represents that, you're going to be able to believe it a lot more because you literally have evidence of such. Whereas someone on the opposite side who is in a relationship, if I was to say right now, I mean, I do it all the time. I joke about Katie not wanting me all the time because it means absolutely fuck all, because I know it's not the case. And me saying, oh, Katie's like absolutely head over heels for me is a lot easier for me to believe because that's what I'm experiencing. So there's two elements to it: what your current experience is if you are experiencing something negative, it'll be easier to feel into that because that's what you're experiencing. And the other element is your mind kind of takes that stuff on board a little bit more so that it can be prepared for it should it happen.
I was just going to say as well that like excitement lasts like a much shorter time than worry. So when you feel like something is coming and you know something's on its way, sort of thing, the excitement that you feel is like small little short like bursts, like, oh, I'm going there in 2 days, and then it's gone. Like it's a much shorter emotion than worry and panic and like sadness. They last a lot like longer because you think into them a lot more. Like if you were to sit there and, you know, remember you're going somewhere and it's somewhere that you don't really want to go, you will dread it. You will be like, oh, I hate it. Oh, I really. But when it's like, oh, I'm going to see my friend tomorrow, it's like, oh yeah. But then it's sort of gone. And unless you force it and carry it on, like, yes, I'm so excited. Oh, we're gonna do this. Oh, and you have to think about more things in order to push out the excitement and like the anticipation and stuff. Whereas with the negative ones, it's almost automatic because, like you said, you have to go for the worst case scenario and you have to get everything ready so that your body knows exactly how to fight the situation, and that's just a natural thing that our brains do. So I think that that's another big part of it, is the fact that like really good emotions don't tend to last long unless you push them and force yourself to continue to feel them.
Yes. 9 says, good question, Jade. Pranver says, saw SP post on Insta and felt triggered, reminded myself of my mental diet and realized it's only because I wish I was with her and not affirmed myself and went to 4D again. Is this an ideal approach? Yeah, so if you have something that triggers you, find out why the trigger exists. If you can, simply let it go. If not, then obviously work on it like while it's there. And then yeah, place your awareness back to the 4D, back to imagination of, you know, being what it is that you want. And that's the best thing that you can do in those situations, because we all have things that will trigger us. We all have things that we will react to. And it's not the reaction that's necessarily the problem. Obviously, it's worth looking into why the reaction was there so you can sort of handle it going forward. But it's more about the spiraling afterwards, you know, because a lot of people will react, and if they're able to let it go, it doesn't really mean much. It's just like affirming something negative once, you know. But if you then sort of panic about what you've done, that's when it's going to cause a problem. So I think you're doing right there. JRC says, hey everyone, Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's to you too, JRC. I'm glad that you're able to make it today. And then he also says, did everyone hit the like button and join the membership? If not, we will find you. 12 people out of the 30 have hit the like button. So if the other 18 can, that'd be really beneficial. And for those of you who are umming and ahhing about joining the membership, there will be member-only videos very soon. I actually have the first one planned out. Like I said earlier on in the stream, if you guys weren't here, I'll repeat it. As of the 3rd of this month, is it the 3rd? Yeah, as of the 3rd of this month, there'll be way more content than there ever has been. Both or triplet on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. So it's worth sticking around to the channel. Says, I want to ask Katie about her weight loss manifestation, how she did it, and her tips/advice. Go ahead.
Okay, so one thing that I have sort of mentioned before is I know lots of people affirm for many different things, and I'm quite a visualizing person, but I always visualize as in I am watching myself. So one thing that I do is, no matter what the visualization is like about, no matter what it is I will always visualize myself as my perfect dream like body goal. So I will never ever picture like anything is as how I am like currently in the 3D sort of thing. So what else? What other tips do I have? So other tips as well is like, don't sort of stand there and hate on yourself in the mirror. I know that everybody does that, and everybody finds it really difficult to pull yourself away from that kind of thing. When you're stood there and you're like, oh, I hate this, I hate that, and, you know, like pointing out all the little flaws and stuff, like completely stop doing that. If you're in that kind of mood and you feel like you're going to, just walk away, like physically walk away and come back to it when you can, sort of thing. Whenever I have little thoughts pop up about myself and how much like I dislike myself or anything like that, I will just go blank in my head, just completely blank. That's it. No more thoughts. Done. And then I will go back to like the hyping myself up. I'm amazing, I'm incredible, I'm the best person, you know, I can easily lose whatever weight I want to, I look amazing in whatever I wear, all of those kind of things. Wear whatever outfit you want. Like literally wear whatever outfit you want. Every single time I order anything online, I put it on and I go, it does not look what I was expecting. And a lot of the time I whip it off in like a massive anger, like, why does it look like this? And then I go, no, hold on. It does. It looks exactly like how I was expecting, because I look exactly how I am expecting. And I make myself put it back on and I march out that house wearing that outfit. Because that's what I would do if I had the exact dream body that I wanted. I would wear whatever the fuck I wanted whenever I wanted to. So yeah, there's some of the tips. I think like they will help moving forward, but yeah. It's just some. There's like lots of other things that I'd go on for ages and ages. Like I even draw pictures of myself how I want to look, and then it works.
Yeah. So Emma says, I cannot stop thinking about the old story. It is inundating my mind. How do I stop this? Okay, so I mean, look into why. You know, why is this thing holding on? Like, why are you anchoring yourself to this story? I mean, the 3D obviously is a reflection of old stories, so it kind of makes sense about like why you'd react to certain things and think about what the 3D is doing. But why are you thinking about the old story? What is it that's anchoring you to it? Because in order to move on from it, you need to first accept it as existing, or at least accept it to an extent where it doesn't have control over you. Acceptance is such a huge part of manifestation. Whether it's accepting that it's done, accepting that your manifestation is done, accepting that the 3D circumstances is what it is, accepting thoughts as they come. Acceptance is the biggest thing. And obviously, it's very difficult for me to give like great advice based on I can't stop thinking of the old story. How do I stop this? Because I don't exactly know what's going on. Obviously, I know you mentioned your circumstance a bit further up, but as in like, I don't exactly know what it is that you're anchoring your mind to, what about it says to you. But look into that first. I would. Oh god, there's actually so many messages. It's skipped and we've missed a whole bunch. Okay, just going to start again. Basically, look into the deeper reasonings as to why you can't stop thinking about it. Is there a particular pattern? Is there a particular thing that you keep thinking about? Is there something what is it anchoring you to these thoughts? And then once you've figured that out, then you can start working on how to stop it. Because like I said, you need to accept certain things and then you can have the freedom to let them go. A lot of the times when people get success stories, they'll say it wasn't until I let go. And this is because it's not that you need to let go in order to manifest, but it's a case of you need to at least have a level of acceptance so that you're not holding on to what once was or like the situation. So look deeper into why you can't stop thinking about it, and then we can go from there. If we could all stop the comments for the moment as well, please, because I actually have like a whole bunch to catch up on. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm all of a sudden starting to struggle to talk a bit because I'm still, like I said, I'm a bit ill. So it's actually getting a little bit tricky to get to my words out. So if I could just try and finish these and then we'll see where we're at in terms of the time. So Carolina says, from all your coaching sessions you've done with people, do you see most commonly that there is always movement behind the scenes that people don't see more than visible movement? Is that most common? So based on all of my coaching sessions, what I found isn't necessarily that there's always movement behind the scenes, but what I have found, and this might go against what a few other coaches have said, and obviously I don't want to step on anybody's toes. So if you don't resonate with this message, fine. If you resonate more with what they say, then also fine. But I actually find that wavering is a big factor. And yes, there is the element of time. I'm not going to say that time doesn't exist, but what I have found quite predominantly with my coaching clients is that when someone actually dedicates themselves to the process, even if it's not like immediate, obviously, it's not usually too long. Like a couple of months or so, I'll get people coming back that were like really struggling when they came to me originally. I actually had a success story today that they were a good client. They weren't like a particularly difficult client, but of a success story, they came back like a month later. And I have this quite often where people work with me for usually about a month, and then a couple of months later they'll come back with their success story. And what I find is a lot of the time the most common thing is that the people just aren't dedicating themselves to the new story or the new way of being as much as they believe they are, because a lot of my coaching involves questioning as opposed to telling. And it usually helps people look deeper into their own process, and then they'll actually kind of figure out what they've not been doing like amazing. I'm not going to say that it won't necessarily, it can't take a year or two just because if you're doing everything right, but I have found predominantly that it doesn't take that long. I know it's a bit of a hot take, and there might be a few coaches out there that don't appreciate that comment. But that's just my experience. And your question was, from all the coaching sessions, do you see commonly that there is always movement? There is always movement, though. Back to what your question actually is. No, it isn't the most common thing that I see. What I just gave you was. But based on my own experience and sessions, is that there is always movement. Because anytime you are anytime you are focusing on the end result, you're beginning to weave that end result into reality. So it doesn't matter if there isn't always visible movement. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that in the background of a situation there isn't movement, as in like thoughts of the specific person, but you are creating movement by creating that reality, by placing your awareness on it existing. It's only a matter of time until it comes into fruition. Melis says, I have an obstacle which I found right now. My SP is in Germany right now. I'm in long distance relationship, so knowing that he will come soon is my mental diet's obstacle. Okay, well, you don't really need to focus on the obstacle. Blocks and limiting beliefs and all that lot only exist because you're placing awareness on them to be the case. Like I said, like I said earlier on in the live stream, anything that your desired version wouldn't be experiencing, there's no reason why you should place any awareness on it. So that obstacle there isn't actually an obstacle. It's just your mind allowing it to exist within your awareness. So if you take your awareness off of it, and even if you could use the I remember when technique if you really struggle to look past the obstacle of, I remember when he lived far away, we were in a long distance relationship, and now we're in the most loving, passionate, committed relationship, or something like that. But obstacles are already placed there by your logical mind, creating reasons as to why this can't work. Like I said, your desired end wouldn't have that obstacle in place, therefore it shouldn't really be in your awareness at all. Rohan says, how this can happen, that despite doing everything correct, my previous pattern is repeating with no contact and much more. Had it been a purge, then why it's going so long, like since a month or so? Okay, so you asked me this comment, or you asked me about the purge, or you mentioned this, and I referenced it could be the purge last week. So I do struggle to, because I'm pretty sure it's been a couple of weeks actually that you've asked about this. I may be wrong, but you definitely did in the last stream. So I do struggle to accept the idea that people say that I'm doing everything correct when a couple of streams in a row they're asking the same questions. It makes me wonder what they're doing the rest of the time. I'm not going to sit here and say that you're not doing everything correct, but I do find it difficult to believe that that is the case. If you ask the same question, or at least a very similar question of, I'm noticing this happened, why is it happening, or why isn't it happening? Because that would obviously imply that you're placing awareness on what's going wrong, which is obviously only going to create more of it. So obviously asking a question here and there isn't a problem, but you know what I mean? When there's a pattern, it's sometimes a bit difficult to accept that the rest of the time, everything is 100% perfectly fine. But you also said this opposite starts happening soon after I did vigorous rampaging for a few days and days for day long in mind. Okay, so I'm assuming you're saying that this opposite started happening since you started doing the affirmations rampage. Okay, so let me ask you this. Why did you start doing an affirmations rampage if you felt like you were doing everything right in the first place? And second off, was the affirmations rampage coming from a place of, I'm going through the purge, I need to power through? If you can answer those, that might give me a little bit more clarity on where we're going to go with this comment. Melis says, thank you guys. You're very welcome. Mr. the Almighty One says, hi, Matt and Katie. Happy New Year. My SP is slowly contacting me. It's slow, but it's a start. As they say, the turtle wins the race. I'm absolutely certain my SP is mine. It's done. Deal, case closed. Absolutely. And I'm really glad that you're having that mindset about the whole situation. A lot of people.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, and Happy New Year to you too. Yeah. JRC says, the Discord is also a great place to get support and discuss things. Everyone on there is great. Yes, when I go back to doing more of my own stuff, I will be in the Discord a lot more than I currently am. It's just because I've been super busy that I haven't actually been able to get in the Discord as much as I would have wanted from being away. So I will be a lot more active in the Discord very soon.
Yeah, we sort of so we had Christmas and then we
Sorry,
went,
you can have to talk.
No worries. So yeah, we had Christmas Day, and we went to go and see my family, and then we went on and stayed over, and then we came home for one night, and then we went straight the next morning to Matt's mum's, and then we were there for 4 nights, and then we came back, and it was obviously New Year's Eve, and Matt is also really poorly, bless him. He's actually really poorly. I'm surprised we're in the live, but yeah, so we have been really, really hectic, which is why neither of us have really been on our phones. I know he's managed to keep up with his emails. I don't even know how, but he has. And yeah, so everything sort of went a little bit silent, not silent, but quiet from our side. But obviously now the main event is sort of like over, we can carry on and stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna try and read the next comment, but I don't know where he got to. He got to Abinaya. Hey, Abinaya. Hey, I'm going to be here for a brief moment. It's 12:40 a.m. for me because I have to wake up by 5 and get ready for uni. Oh, well, if you're still here, hi. If not, then have fun at uni. And then Nicole J. Decent mental diet, affirming through day, feeling really good, actually excited. But SP deleted my NR. Sorry. Here you go. I read Abinaya's comment and then
cool.
I just left.
Okay, so Nicole J says, decent mental diet, affirming through the day, feeling really good, actually excited, but SP deleted my NR. So in WhatsApp I saw today, it made me laugh, got happy, my message still, why delete? Okay, I don't fully understand what that is meant to be saying. I think you're saying that you messaged and they deleted it.
Got happy New Year message. So
Happy New Year. I thought it said my.
Yeah, so deleted my NR. Number?
Oh, maybe number.
So WhatsApp. So in WhatsApp I saw today, it made me laugh, got happy.
I can't confirm why they deleted it. Obviously, everything that you're experiencing is a reflection of your. I thought so. Everything that you're experiencing is a reflection of some thoughts, or assumptions, or anything that you've had. This could be just old stuff playing out that happened in the old thoughts and stuff that maybe happened a month ago or so, playing out now. But I would, like I said earlier to the other people, placing your awareness on stuff that has happened that you don't want to experience is only going to create more of it. So the reason it's been deleted is all old stories. There's no reason on asking why, unless you're still thinking about that kind of stuff. If you're still thinking about that kind of stuff, then I would say look deeper into why you are. But if you say that your mental diet's like really good and that you're feeling quite good, quite happy, and you're saying, why did they delete it despite me feeling like this? Then there's no point in you placing any focus on it, because where your focus goes, energy flows. And if you're in a good place and then this happens, there's no point taking yourself out of that good place to obviously look deeper into it. You still got the Happy New Year message, which obviously is a benefit, but just keep placing your focus on, experiencing what it is that you want to experience instead.
There could also be a really good reason as to why. It doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing. It could literally be like a changing of number or do you know what I mean? There could be any number of reasons why it happens. So like he said, there's not actually much point in looking into it and trying to figure it out, because you are already in a really good place.
Yes. Abinaya says, I don't know if I'd still be around by the time you read this, but Matt, I hope you're feeling better. You Dumbo. I love you both so much. Thank you very much. Hopefully I should be fine by tomorrow, but we'll have to wait and see, I suppose. But thank you for the support, and I hope you have a good rest of your night if you are still here. If not, then bye. Carolina says, is that what a state means that Neville talked about by saying your affirmations with a feeling? So robotic affirmation wouldn't be beneficial because our subconscious speaks through emotion and repetition. So a state is just basically what you claim yourself to be, as if it's true now. It's stepping into that state. So you can step into any kind of state at any kind of time. You can step into the state of being rich, even if you're broke, by just stating to yourself that you have money and such. But yeah, essentially, that is true. I mean, it doesn't necessarily need to be emotion. It needs to be feeling. There's obviously that bit of a misconception between the two. It needs to be feeling as in you feel into it right now, and not as in feel good, feel happy or so. But yeah, essentially you are right there. Aditi says, how did you manifest a loving relationship like the way you wanted Katie to be? I'm in the same condition, so I'd like to know more about it. Like, how was Katie before and after you successfully manifest? I've already given you this twice now. I didn't place my focus on what it was that I want. I took my focus off of what I didn't want and instead placed it on the reality that I did want. So when we were in no contact and everything like that before Katie ended up coming back, I wasn't placing my focus on no contact. I wasn't really... I wasn't sitting there talking to all of my friends about, obviously I told my best friend because I went and stayed with him for a night, but we weren't sitting there saying, oh, Katie did this, Katie did that. Why'd the breakup happen? Why'd this, why'd that? We literally just let it go. And we just did something else. And it is that simple. I took my awareness off of the breakup, the no contact, what was said, all that kind of stuff, and I placed it on what I did want. So the opposite of what I said, and being together and being how I wanted it to be, and yada, yada, yada. So that is literally all I did. If your thoughts, feelings, and actions aren't in alignment with your end result, then take them back and start placing it on what you do want. It is quite a simple process. Simply Bella says, woke up to see SP Instagram celebrating New Year's Eve with a new girl. They kissed. I've been manifesting our reconciliation for 3 months. I'm heartbroken. I feel like giving up. Okay, well, I mean, I can understand why you might feel like giving up. It's up to you whether you do or don't. I'm not going to tell you whether you should or shouldn't. Like I said a second ago to someone else, it's all old story. This is all old sort of things playing out. But it's up to you what you do choose to do. Jade Lamb says, I really need to answer my sister.
Do you want to do that? And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
will
yeah.
speak a little bit. So let me, which one did we get to? I don't know. Let's see. So woke up to see SP. They kissed, over manifested. Yeah, so obviously, like he said, it's up to you now what you do. For the time being, I would suggest just taking a little bit of you time. So just doing a few things that you know, like really enjoy and stuff like that, like having a nice bath, just really making yourself feel relaxed and calmed, and sort of get away from like that idea, because I know like when you see something that you really dislike, it sort of replays over and over again in your head, and it's quite hard to just shake it out straight away. So I would suggest doing some things for you, like just a nice sort of like cleansing like bath kind of thing, get your head out of it, do things that can distract you and stuff like that, and then go back to your focus afterwards when you have some like time to actually go back to it, sort of thing, when you are ready to stop feeling, you know, like the way that you do, and start feeling more sort of, you know what I mean, like there's moments where you feel really sort of a lot of dread and a lot of like sorrow and stuff like that, and I think that that is not a good place to do anything from. So it's important to sort of shake it away and start making yourself like feel a bit better first before you then focus on anything else. So do you have any collaboration plan with other coaches? I think you'd work well with Dylan James, in my opinion.
So I do have one coming up with, or I say coming up, like planned with Joey. I'm God, LOA is his name now. That's the only one at the moment. I do want to do more collaborations this year. I definitely want to try and get one out every couple of months or so, just for the sake of, you know, helping out other smaller channels, and then having other big channels obviously helping me. But I haven't got any in mind yet. Like I said, like I said earlier, I've been so busy lately that I haven't really had a chance to even reach out to people, and I've been saving all of my stuff till the new year when things go back to normal. But when things do go back to normal, I will start asking a few people and sort of trying to make those connections with other people to start doing collaborations and such. It's funny that you should say that. Actually, a lot of people that have come to me for coaching actually mentioned that they went to Dylan James before, or that they've done work with Dylan James, that they really like Dylan James, and that's why they quite like my content. So maybe he'll be one of the people that I like put on that list to potentially reach out to. I actually haven't really watched any Dylan James. I know of him. Everyone talks about him and stuff, but I have not actually really watched any of him myself. So I'll have to do a little bit of research and stuff like that. But yes, I do have some that I would like to do. The only one that I have sort of set in stone is the one with Joey. Actually should be quite an interesting one. I can't remember the topic, but I remember when he told me that, I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. Should be a good video for people. So that'll be good. JRC says, I know I sound like a broken record by telling people to support, but I really do appreciate both of you and want to see you grow. Well, it's highly appreciated. So thank you very much for always being on people's cases, getting them to like the stream and stuff.
Sorry, but really quickly, I feel like there's potentially been a little bit of an argument lower down in the comments, and I just want to say to Marnie Phoenix, put your comment in. It's perfectly fine. I don't know who's told you to delete it or whatever, but put it in and we will get to it, whatever it was. So
yeah,
we'll get down into the comments, but I just spotted it now, and I just thought I'd let you know that you're more than welcome to put your question no matter what it is.
Yeah, just like, ask whatever it is. And if for people that are like telling other people to stop asking or to not ask, or that they're wrong for asking, grow up. You know, like I'm not interested in having that kind of attitude in my live streams. This is supposed to be a sort of safe space where anyone can ask whatever it is that they want to ask, regardless of the situation, the topic, or whatever. If I don't want to answer the question, I'll just say no. but under no circumstance should anybody else be telling anybody else that they can or can't ask.
I'm not sure whether it was like a slight misunderstandings, because basically I had to ban some of those like weird like sign up to the dating app kind of thing, and somebody put leave now to the dating app people. So I don't know whether there's like a misunderstanding that's happened there, but I've blocked the dating app people, but I missed everything else, and I see that Marnie has actually deleted all of her comments. So yeah, if you like,
I'll get to it when I get to it.
Sorry, I just thought I'd step in before you leave because you said I'm going to go now. But no, by all means, put your comment in.
Yeah. Dev says, Happy New Year to you lovely couples. Couples. Thank you very much. Happy New Year to you too. Blanca says, when I robotically affirm, I recently say I'm married to my S2. I can't read, I swear.
Do you want me to read them?
No, it's fine. I can read it. It's fine. I'm just being an idiot.
You're just really poorly.
When I robotically affirm, and that actually really hurt. Like my skin's like so sensitive and horrible. When I robotically affirm, and I recently say I'm married to SP, I am on his mind 24/7 because I am amazing. By the way, thanks, Katie. I am the love of his life, and I feel excited, at ease, and cool. Is that okay? So yeah, I think that's fine. Like I said, obviously earlier about the 24/7 thing, depending on where you're coming from while doing that is something to look out for. I would advise maybe trying to feel into it a little bit more than robotically affirming it. But if you feel like it works for you, and if you feel like when you state it, it's true for you in those moments, then continue going ahead with it. Katie says, hello to you both. Matt, as I informed you, my SP reached out to me later on, though he was concerned and friendly, but it wasn't the end result. As also, I pursued him to wish New Year. He wasn't into meeting and stuff. Now I'm revising it in my favor. Okay, I mean, if it's already done and you want, well.
Oh, sorry, no, don't worry.
If it's already done and you want to revise it, then go ahead with it. Like I say to sort of the vast majority of people that I deal with, being the one to reach out often doesn't bode well because, if you get a response that you don't like, you then have to worry about the fact that you then have to not spiral. You have to deal with the situation going forward. And B, it usually often shows the state that you're in more dominantly to be the one pursuing. So yeah, if it's already done, revise the situation. But next time, try to catch yourself before you do it. It'll be in your best interest to let them come to you. Carolina says, I've been manifesting me and my SP's reconciliation, had lots of movement and then no visible movement for 2 months. I visualized SP saying Happy New Year to me and he did. Is that still counted as my bridge of incidents? Or did I only get the message because I visualized it and it was separate manifestation? Like maybe it would have happened if I didn't visualize it. Well, who's to say really? Obviously, if you're doing an end result thing and then an in the middle thing, then it's bound to, there's going to be some confusion or at least difficulty in discerning. The best bet is to try not to notice the fact that there's no visible movement. Like when you're noticing there's no visible movement, you're basically just saying to yourself, I don't have this. It's not here. You're not supposed to be referencing the lack of visible movement. Movement, even if you get movement, shouldn't really be that much of a focus. Like, yes, enjoy the good things as they come and feel into them for sure, but it should only be that step onto your end result. It shouldn't be like that, oh yes, we're getting movement, this has happened. Use it to fuel you, but it's still not the end result. And that's why you need to persist in the end result until it happens. I would probably say, considering you had no movement and then you did the visualization, that it's probably a separate manifestation, but that doesn't mean that you can't get your initial manifestation by continuing to persist. Jordan Strang says, hey guys, sorry I'm late. Didn't realize you were live. Howdy to you too. And it's absolutely fine. Don't you worry about it. Dev says, Matthew, I had a great dream where my SP was texting me and sending me pics of herself and telling me what she was doing. Then I woke up. Damn, it felt so real. Well, I mean, enjoy it. Tell yourself that it wasn't a dream, that it's actually reality, and then try to feel into it through that way. But it's always nice when you have good dreams. Definitely better than having bad dreams. Tanby says, hello, my SP did not wish me on my birthday, Christmas, or New Year, which I was consciously manifesting. Meanwhile, manifesting a relationship with her. These failed manifestations had made me doubt my work. Okay, well, it's one of those situations where I get why you're doing it. You obviously want to hear from them on your birthday. You want to hear from them on Christmas and New Year and stuff, but it just kind of shows that need for them to be there. It kind of shows to me that you need to hear from them on those significant days to feel that level of fulfillment. I mean, I do get it. I'm not sitting here and saying that you shouldn't or that you're wrong or whatever, but it just kind of shows that you needed them in order to validate yourself. And that's obviously an element of an issue within itself. So what I would recommend you do is obviously take some time to yourself, go general, or take some time back and focus on you for a bit, and then get straight back into it with like the end result and go straight to the end result. 1 second, I just have to send something. spelled bitch wrong. You can continue reading if you want, Kate. I don't mind.
I don't know where you got to.
It's right, I'll continue now. Basically, my sister's Instagram accounts got hacked, and they tried to use my phone number to get like the forgotten password for like a different account or something. So I was just like, yeah, it's come through. 1 second. It says there was an error, and I put, it says you're a bitch for thinking I fall for this. And I just having fun with the hacker. But yeah, so going back to just to finish off, I mean, if it makes you doubt your manifestation work, my best advice to you would be to take a step back, because if you're in a state of doubting, you're not going to be operating from the right place, shall we say. So I would recommend you take a step back and just continue persisting forward when you feel in a better place. But I also do think that trying to get conscious manifestations of each one of those events kind of shows that you need that validation on those days to feel that fulfillment. Oh, I can breathe. Not very well. Caroline, it's kind of temporarily. Carolina says, because I know you always say stick to your end result instead of manifesting text, and I've never focused on text, but I just fell asleep with the idea of him saying Happy New Year's to me because it felt nice. It's not that I don't say to not manifest text. I think that people get too caught up on them. I've even had clients myself, like where they've been focusing on the end result, and then they've been like, oh, I'd love to hear from them from XYZ reason. And then our next few emails will just become like this whole thing about trying to get the text. And I'm like, have you kind of forgotten where you're supposed to be going with this? I don't think that you shouldn't manifest text. I just think that they should be a side thing. I think it's like, for example, if I was going to a job interview, I wouldn't say to someone, no, focus on the job only. I would still say, if you want to, you can focus on the interview going great, or you can focus on them saying that they were really like happy with the way that you interviewed, but make sure that that's like a side thing. Because in the custom made routine that I make for people every single day, every person will have the same thing. At the beginning of the day, affirm for how you want your day to go. Now, obviously, you could claim that the end result is, affirm for this year being amazing, and this would imply that every day goes well, but what's the point? You can still add little bits of step work or present moment work or something like that. Just make sure it doesn't become the only focus, because that's where it can be a bit of a difficult time. That's where people can get quite obsessed as well.
I think, yeah, and also the other thing is that, like the comment just above, you start to have that little bit of doubt that the overall goal will work when the little ones don't come in the way that you expected them to. So I think that's another thing, that yes, you can definitely say, like, I'm going to get this by this date and stuff, but if it then comes to that date, you don't want to sit there and sort of just cry over not having it and be so sad that it's not come on that exact day, because then that's where all your focus is going to be, the fact that it's not there. So all the little ones that come along the way, just see them as like extra good bonuses. And when they do come in, it's like, yes, amazing. When they don't come in, it's still yes, amazing, because we're still working towards the end goal, sort of thing.
Exactly. Top FJ says, if I manually enter my desired state of my desired self-concept, what will happen after it all manifests in my dominant and it's my dominant state? Will I have to manually leave that state? And if so, will I lose my manifestation? Okay, so self-concept, you're not doing self-concept in order. You're not doing self-concept in order to get something. It's not like I'm going to start claiming myself to be the most desirable person in the world just so that my specific person will come in. And then once that they come in, I then go, oh, I'm not desirable anymore, or something like that. Or you're doing self-concept to build up your self-worth. You're doing self-concept to build up the way that you perceive yourself. So you don't need to, like, if you manually enter the state of having a desired self-concept, then great, your manifestations will come in line with that self-concept and everything, which is great. But you should be doing self-concept for you. So you should be doing self-concept for the work that you want to feel, for that you want to experience from everybody else. So there should not really be a reason why you would want to manually leave that state. And if you do, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll lose your manifestation unless you're going to the complete opposite. So if my manifestation self-concept state was being desired by Katie, unless I literally start to sit in the state of Katie not desiring me, I won't lose her. If I no longer keep telling myself she desires me, but like that's my dominant state because of that's what my experience is, then that'll be fine. Hopefully that answers that. Emma says, back to my situation about my guy with his daughter. Would it be bad if I asked him about the custody arrangement because I don't understand it? Will it ruin my manifestation? It won't ruin it per se, but there's not really much point in you feeding into it because, like, it's the bridge of incident. It's the middle. It's the 3D. There's literally no reason why that thing should be in the forefront of your mind. Like I said earlier, that if you were to be in your desired reality right now, the custody arrangements and such wouldn't necessarily be so confusing. I have him, he has her on Monday to Wednesday, and then the mum has a Thursday to Saturday, for example. It would be clear to you. So asking about the arrangements, it would only be a temporarily 3D fix for you. Yes, you may have the clarity, but it doesn't align with your end result. So there's no point, in my opinion, focusing on it. But it won't ruin your manifestation. So if you want to ask it just to get that off your chest, then go ahead. But make sure that once you know, you go, cool, now I'm going to move on to the end result. Summer Rain says, what if I dreaming about a different SP to who I'm manifesting? It means nothing. Dreams aren't really that. Dreams are the same as tarot readings if you want to kind of see it that way, where they're just projecting to you what you kind of have going on in your mind at the very best. And even though they're coming from you, doesn't necessarily mean that that's like the path you have to go on. You just change your focus, change your awareness, and it will change. However, I actually think that dreams have less accordance to what you're currently thinking and feeling and sort of acting than tarot readings do, purely because dreams often, as science has shown, usually has a lot of credit to what your last few thoughts of the night were. They're usually the kind of things that you fall asleep to. You could have just fallen asleep to something completely random about, some other guy, and that's what your brain has just decided to make up from it. I don't think dreams are really worth anything, in my opinion. And I've said this quite a lot. Like, other coaches will say that they mean your manifestation is coming and that they're the best things in the world. But it's like, I've had terrible dreams that have never happened. And I've also had amazing dreams that have never happened. But so I just don't. Whereas, for example, some of the tarot readings that Katie has done for me have actually either been exactly what I've been thinking and feeling, or they've actually played out. And so, yeah, I genuinely think that tarot readings hold more validity than dreams do, which is a lot for me.
I think as well, I don't think you need to worry, because a lot of the time as well, your brain just fills in a person with whoever they can, sort of thing. Because often I will have a dream where I'm dreaming about my mum, and it will be a completely different woman that I've don't remember, and I don't know who it actually is, but in my dream I know it's my mum. So your head will just fill in the voids where it can't quite get the right thing in there, sort of thing, in dreams. So I don't think it's anything to worry about, because you're probably still dreaming about your SP. They just look different because your brain filled it in with somebody else.
Yeah. Marnie Phoenix says, hey, happy new year, guys. Happy new year to you too. Glad to have you here, Marnie. Dev says, Tambi, there's no such thing as a failed manifestation. He/she would do it this year or next year, period. And it says some manifestation doesn't happen instantly, doesn't mean it won't happen. That's also another thing that I didn't put in my statement to Tambi, is that it could happen at any point. I mean, for example, they could message you saying, sorry, it's a bit late, but happy late New Year's. Just because it didn't happen doesn't mean it's a failed manifestation. Exactly like Dev said, it just means that it hasn't happened yet. And that's the way that you should be perceiving it. No one should ever see it as I failed, or I'm not manifesting this, or I'm not successful. If you have to see things for what they currently are, try to see them as not yet. Try not to see them as failures. Obviously, you'll want to always do your best to see them as currently here. But if you can't, for whatever reason, don't see it as it's failed and done deal. Try to see it as it's still on its way. Thank you for picking up on that, Dev. What's up?
I was just going to say something about the tax. So, I don't know, I'm kind of going off on a little tangent here, but if you were in a loving and passionate and solid relationship with a person, you wouldn't necessarily be thinking about whether or not they're going to text you on your birthday, or trying to create them texting you on your birthday. So it's just a little interesting side thought that actually I will just naturally have the assumption that Matt will most definitely text me on my birthday. Well, not text me, because we'll probably see each other. But do you know what I mean? So it's kind of it's an interesting kind of side thought. Would you actually be consciously creating those little things if you were already living in the end where those little things would be happening?
Yeah.
But then I suppose actually going off slightly different, people can be in relationships and not get those things. So yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, I didn't text you Happy New Year or Happy Christmas.
No, but we were right next to each other.
Yeah, but that's obviously the whole.
Yeah, so
Yeah, so I'm saying that just because you didn't receive it doesn't necessarily mean anything bad, because that's what your relationship. If anything, not receiving it is closer to your end result. Try and see it like that.
Sorry, random little tangent.
Alex Hans says, my SP and I broke up, my doing, but we decided to do no contact back in October until sometime during the first week of January. Should I reach out, or should I wait for him to contact me? If it was me, I'd wait for him to contact me or you. If I were you, I would wait for him to contact you, because I feel like you deserve. You said it's your doing. I'm assuming that means because you specified that it was you that broke up with him. I don't know whether you mean my doing as in like I realized I created it, or whether it was like I actually was the one to break up. Either way, I think that you owe it to yourself to have him come to you, basically. I'll say that regardless of any situation to anyone on here. You deserve to have them chasing you. Dev says, stop wavering, trust me, just live in the end, like Matthew says. Absolutely. Top FJ says, is it even possible to manifest my desired self-concept exactly on the dot? Like, I have an idea of my perfect self. Is that even possible? My SC includes appearance, confidence, being chased, etc. And I feel and believe when I affirm and enter the state. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to say it's not possible. If you can change anything, then you can change everything, basically. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it is possible.
Yeah, I'd say that I'm slowly, like little piece at a time, getting to exactly what I wanted to be. Like nothing is quite 100% yet, but everything is building up, if you know what I mean, into like the little like percentage at a time. Like my confidence is way better than anything it used to be, sort of thing. And like, yeah, basically I can actually see little changes happening to me as we go along, and I know that I'm gonna get there.
Yeah. Jordan Strang says, I can't get rid of that, so ignore that. I'm not 100% sure what it is. I looked back and your only thing was said about you being late, so I'm not sure what that is meant to be referencing, but I will ignore it for you. Marnie Phoenix deleted a bunch of messages, which I'm not sure why.
That was who I mentioned to put it back in there, but I don't think she did in the end. I think she actually did just go.
I'll drop her an email later and make sure everything's right. Top FJS says, I've had a falling out with a friend on New Year's Eve. I've affirmed for him and SC. Then I reached and wished him a happy new year, and he did the same. He wouldn't respond to my text before this. Coincidence? I mean, nothing's really a coincidence. If you affirmed for it and entered the state of it being the case, then that's that, I suppose. Nothing in this world is a coincidence. Dev says, do you guys go on voice call on Discord? So we used to, and then obviously with the influx of clients and such, I had a lot less time, but I will be going back onto voice calls a lot more now that I'm going full time into this. Like I said earlier, I don't know if you were here, Dev, but like I said earlier, there's going to be another live stream. There's going to be more videos, members only videos, more shorts, more Instagram, more TikTok, and more Discord involvement and more community posts. So basically, there's going to be more of everything. And I can't guarantee that I'll be in the call like a lot. Like it's not going to be like every day for an hour, but I'll probably end up doing like the odd call here and there more regularly than I have been. And then Dev says we can play games together. I feel like if I start playing games with fans, I'm never going to get anything done. Games are so addictive. I have to like fight myself to stop playing them at times. One of the best things about being like a big Yu-Gi-Oh fan is I have to have Katie there to play it. So when she's busy, I'm just like, well, now I got to do some work, I suppose. But I mean, maybe on the odd occasion, but I definitely wouldn't be doing it long because I'll end up losing all of my revenue and stuff for you guys, and then I'll end up being like having to get a fucking job again. Dev says, by living in the end in your mind or imagination, Marnie, you're thinking too much. Okay, I'm assuming this is to do with her thingies. Yeah. Jordan Strang says, I saw a picture of my SP and her sister on her sister's Insta story earlier, and I instantly thought she's mine. Also, her sister has been looking at my stories, and I'm getting visualizations without needing to initiate them. So I'm definitely taking all of these signs in the right direction. Yeah, I mean, that seems positive to me for sure. Dev says, circumstances don't matter. I'm assuming that's to Marnie. Kiati says, Katie, do you have any tips on how to have a strong self-concept in order to be persuaded as a female? I'm assuming that means meant to say pursued.
Pursued as a female. Do you have any tips on how to have a strong self-concept in order to be pursued? So I personally don't want to be pursued, so none of my self-concept work is about and unless you count Matthew, so like some of the things that I would say like to myself is that I am the most beautiful person he has ever seen, that he really like enjoys being around me, all of those kind of things. But yeah, a lot of the best way I can describe it is, you know, like those like sort of what is it, like those songs about, you know, being a bad bitch and all of that kind of stuff, and they just literally hype themselves up through the whole song. They're just like, I'm this, I'm that, I'm amazing, I'm that. Like, just do that to yourself all the time. Just tell yourself how amazing you are and how beautiful you are and how like you feel good, and you don't need anybody to tell you that you feel good because you already know that you're good, like you feel good and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just literally all about bigging yourself up. That's pretty much all I can say, I think, because yeah, I obviously don't want to be pursued, so I'm not working on that like myself. But Yeah, it's just all about hyping yourself up and never letting that like inner voice get to you. So like obviously I still have doubtful moments. I still have moments where I do actually just look at myself and think, oh, I hate that. Oh, this is horrible. But I will say they have got so like dramatically less than they were. Like going back a year or so, I honestly could never get out of that like spiral. I could not pull myself back out from that self-hatred like spiral, that I was not good enough, that I was a shit mum, that I couldn't do that I couldn't do this, like I looked horrible, I was like overweight, I had like, and it was just all the time. It was like a personal attack on myself continuously. And genuinely the way I did fight that was going, I am this, I am amazing, I am beautiful, and I just carried on. Like I do things in the like 3D, if you like, to like make myself feel better. So for example, my makeup, I also like to, you know, like do my hair nice, or buy products that I think will improve. So like I was saying before, I had really like terrible skin, and I just decided that if I bought this little tiny £1, I think, I can't even remember how much it was, like it was less than £5, it was like a couple of pounds or whatever, this little tiny pot of face cream, like I had read no reviews about it, I had seen nothing good about it, nobody had recommended it to me, and I just told myself, if I buy this like little shitty face cream and just put it on every day, I will have really good skin, it will all clear up. And it did. So there are little things that I just like do and go, that is what is going to make me feel better about myself, and then it does. So like I have like baths, and I like spell baths, so I put like different sort of like spells in there, and I'm like, right, I'm gonna get out and I'm gonna feel like this, for like I can't think of a good example, but I'm gonna feel really good about myself, I'm gonna look like this, and I'm gonna feel like that, and then I do that thing and then I feel that way. So like I use little, I don't know how to describe it really, just like little tiny cheap
Anecdotes.
things that I'm going to say, this is going to make me feel this way. And then it does. And then I continue to feel that way, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we could stop the comments for now as well, because I need to go off and eat and go die, basically. Dev says we don't need dating apps, we are manifestors, and then it says leave now. I don't know.
That was to that weird.
Oh, okay, cool.
It was one of those spam accounts that I've reported and stuff. But I think that was the like
the Marnie stuff,
misunderstanding, and why Marnie thought she was being told to leave.
All right, well, I'll email her later and make sure that everything's right. Top FJS says, one of my affirmations is whenever I think about someone, they think about me even more. Do you think it's good to believe to set for myself? I mean, if you think it is, it's not like necessarily a bad thing. It's like, you know, just because they think about it, you doesn't necessarily mean they have to act on it. So if that is an affirmation that you like because it benefits your life, then go for it. If it doesn't, then no point. It's your life. I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't believe in. Morlin, apologies if I said that wrong. How do we deal with the 3D where it says you are in, when it says you are in no longer in consideration, but I know I have that job in my mind and not trying to focus on it, that I am in that circumstance? Okay, so you say you are no longer in consideration. That's only one thing that they've said to you, or that's been said to you. So in terms of like, it should be pretty easy to take your mind off the 3D in that regard. I'm assuming what you meant was more about how you take your thoughts off of what you've experienced and not off the 3D itself. But again, it wouldn't necessarily be like taking your thoughts off it. It'd just be redirecting focus back to already being in the end result. I mean, just because they said you're not in consideration doesn't mean things that can't change or things can't happen to get you back into consideration or something of that sort of value. But it would just be a case of taking your awareness off of what they've said, off of the 3D, off of all of that lot, and place it onto what it is that you do want. It comes from a discipline of your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. You can control them, though. So if you notice you're thinking about the wrong thing, withdraw and think about the right thing. Oh, apologies, guys. Deb says, can I put on awareness to negative to debunk to that and tell myself that it's not true so it doesn't manifest? Thank you. So yeah, I mean, you can do. I wouldn't do that too often just because you don't want to put focus on what you don't want, like a whole amount, like a whole lot. Yes, you could do it here and there as more of like a, this isn't true for me and passing it on sort of thing. But I definitely wouldn't have it as like a, I'm going to consciously bring this up just to tell myself that it doesn't manifest, because that's obviously then thinking about it and you don't really want to be thinking about it more than you have to. But yeah, that's fine. Nicole says, awesome, thank you. You're very welcome. Fahim says, sir, can I affirm in future tense? Thank you. I often would advise not. If I was to say I will be rich, considering your subconscious mind pushes out exactly what you're claiming to be now, it will say, I will be rich. Therefore, that means that it's not currently the case and that it will happen. I would advise affirming in present or past tense, but it's entirely up to you. But I definitely do think that future tense affirmations aren't as effective. H says, Yo, Katie, can a woman still feel love for me even after she has apparently moved on in 3D? She was the one to chase me before. I love her. I am asking to tell my conscious mind how scenario.
And you being a woman matter. So sorry, what was the question? Can a woman still feel love for me even after she has apparently moved on in 3D? She was the one to chase me before. I love her. I'm asking. Yeah, there's no reason why that she wouldn't love you anymore. I'm curious, and I don't know if I should ask this, but if she was chasing you and you love her, where was the blockage there? Like what stopped that from going from like just being chased to like a relationship? But yeah, no, I'd say just continue to like tell yourself that she does, and maybe that there was like an old assumption that, you know, like if it didn't happen soon, she'd just move on. Therefore, she did move on because it didn't happen in the time frame like sort of you was expecting. But yeah, there's no reason why she doesn't like still love you. Like there's no circumstances that do matter, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I feel like even though you want my perspective from it, this is something that Matt would answer better. So if you have anything to add, then add it. But yeah, there's no reason why.
My perspective on it is there's very few things that can get in the way of the law of assumption. However, things have to happen in balance. I do feel like there are certain things that apply more to women than to men and vice versa due to the polarity of ourselves. It's the way in nature, it's the way in humans, even if we don't want to admit it or if we're trying to fight to admit it at the moment. I still think your question is perfectly fine. Yes, I do think a woman can have love for you even if they've moved on. But I do actually understand. I do think that there are questions or there are certain things that a woman would do differently to a man. But in this instance, I think that your question to answer it is yes, it's absolutely fine. Or sorry, she absolutely can. Dev says, Matthew, why do Law of Attraction channel have million subscribers and Law of Assumption has less than that? I think a lot of the time it's because of how it was represented. Obviously, there's a film about it, there's a book about it, and all that kind of stuff. So there's obviously a lot more to it. I said not to it, but there's a lot more support for it, shall we say? And I think also an element of it is Law of Assumption. I think it's going to sound probably partially controversial because I've actually had this like kind of thought myself as well. I think an element of it is also the fact that Law of Assumption implies that it's all you, and a lot of people don't want to hear that. I think even though it makes you feel more empowered to know that you can change it, I think a lot of people definitely would rather the idea of I give this up to something else and it's going to happen for me. I also think that's why even though there's a lot more viewers in the Law of Attraction, there's also a lot more people that struggle with the Law of Attraction than the Law of Assumption. If you check a Law of Attraction video's comments, it's horrific. But Law of Assumption channel's comments aren't usually as bad. And I think it's because even though there's more success in the Law of Assumption, it's technically easier in the Law of Attraction, quote unquote, because you're giving it up to something else. You do a visualization for a bit and then you step away and walk away or whatever. But I do think that's partially why, because it's easier. And the other element is the fact that it had more support from the book and the film and all that kind of stuff. And most self-help books also touch on the law of attraction a lot more than the law of assumption. Obviously, the map of consciousness is one of them that kind of borders more into the law of attraction than the law of assumption. There was a book that I was reading a while ago. I can't remember. It was an Olympic swimmer, and he started talking about the law of attraction. Hell, even my vocal coach for my band recommended me The Secret. So he obviously knows about the law of attraction. I think it's just had more publicity, and therefore it's much more common, because even when I was working in my 9 to 5 as well, my manager started talking about the law of attraction to one of my colleagues and stuff. And then when I asked them, had they ever heard about the law of assumption, they were both like, no idea, mate. And I think it's just literally the publicity. And I think it gets around so much because it's easier, or it sounds easier. You know, like the titles make it sound easier. Like, get your thing in 24 hours or less by doing this one visualization. And then it's some heavily American guy with an accent. It's crystals all up in the background. You know what I'm talking about.
I think as well, like, people are very, very scared of failing. And if they fail because of something else, then that's not on them.
Yeah, I think we definitely as humans do like to sit in victimhood a lot more. So to be able to blame it on an outside, because you come to me and say, I ain't got my desire, you're doing something wrong then, aren't you? Or, well, I haven't really said that, but you know what I mean? I'm like, well, let's look into it. What are you potentially not doing as well as you could? Whereas the law of attraction goes to the law of attraction coach, oh, it hasn't worked. God, crystals, universe, whatever kind of excuse they want to give. And then it's very easy to go, oh, yes, it's not me. I'm not the problem, which is also why the law of attraction have a lot of unhappy followers. That's just my perspective on it anyway. Marnie says, I deleted my question as I basically got told to leave. I'll email Matt and sign back up for coaching. Have a great new year. If you're still in this live stream, I don't think you were told to leave. I think you were, I think the spam person was told to leave. I don't think that's in Dev's character to tell someone to leave.
No, he has put further down in the chat that it was a huge misunderstanding and can we pass apologies on and stuff. So, well, yeah, it was just a massive misunderstanding. Obviously, the comments all come in at different times and we're talking at different times. So a lot of the time you guys are answering each other before we get to it. And then it's just all over the place.
But I will pass that message on, don't worry. Dodana says, hi, I'm manifesting for my SP and I to be together at the end of this year. My ideal time. They don't know that I exist yet, and I'm scared that they'll find someone else in the meantime. Should I affirm differently? Lots of love to you guys. Well, thank you very much for the kind words at the end. But there's no reason to do anything differently. I mean, just focus on being in the end result now. It doesn't matter whether it's this year, next year, 2 years. Your best advice would be to just focus on having it now. Because when you start putting a time scale on stuff, even though you can do it in that time scale, when you start to put that pressure on yourself, a lot of the time it can make it a little bit more difficult for yourself to feel into it as though it's happening right now. If every day you're looking at the calendar, you're like, it's getting closer, it's getting closer, it's getting closer. So I think you're perfectly fine. I would, obviously, you say, should I affirm differently? I don't know what your affirmation is in the first place. You didn't necessarily state your affirmation, just what your desire is. But my advice would be to just go straight to the end result as if it's already happening now and let it happen. Dev says, collaborate with Sammy Ingram. I would like to see that. I never told her to leave. I just said circumstance doesn't matter. I am sorry she felt that way. Okay, yeah, like I said, I'll pass it on. As for Sammy Ingram, first off, I don't think Sammy Ingram would even give me the time of day. I know that's obviously my assumption, but you know, when you've got like 130k subscribers, why would you ever want to collab with someone with 4,000? But you know, I might just reach out for the sake of it. Although underneath that, JRC says no, Sammy Ingram.
And then Dev says yeah.
And then Dev says yes, yeah. And then Dev says you're better at debate on time. So I don't know what her perspective on time is. I imagine based on her way of coaching is that time, it should happen like immediately. Now I don't, like I said earlier, I mentioned briefly, I'm going to try to word this correctly so that people don't mistake what I'm saying. While I do think that if it has been a long time, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are doing anything wrong. I do just find that most commonly with my clients, when they actually do finally take that like jump and start to really commit, it's usually not the longest time. So I imagine Sammy and I would probably have a somewhat similar opinion with maybe some variations, but I could reach out, see what happens. Jade Lamb says, do you believe in divine timing, perfect timing when it comes to manifestation? I do not. No, I believe, well, it depends what you want to claim as divine timing, because divine timing is obviously meant to be something outside of you or the universe or God or whatever deciding you have it now. To an extent, yes, that's true, because your subconscious mind in this situation of Lawofassumption would obviously be the element of universe, God, whatever it is what you want to refer to it. And although it doesn't decide when you get it, once you've embodied that state more dominantly than you haven't, then it'll start putting the pieces and then it will happen as it happens. So I don't necessarily think it's divine timing in a sense of your subconscious mind goes, right, now you can have it on this date. But I do think that there is that element of we're putting it together, it's going to happen when it happens, essentially. But I don't believe that there's anything outside of you deciding that. Dev said, hey, Matthew, would you ever do student discounts for teens? I do have discounts going on here and there. I was going to do one for New Year, but obviously being away, I didn't really get a chance to think about it. Something I could consider, I suppose. Obviously, you're in the. I think you're in the Discord as well, so we can obviously do chats in there and ask questions and stuff. But and obviously, if you're in the Discord, I will end up doing calls and stuff. So I suppose you'll get elements of free coaching from that. But it's something I could definitely consider if it's something that people need. B says, Matt, Cat, do you think we can manifest our new business somehow getting viral overnight and trust that the universe knows how to give us the buyers, etc.? I do believe it. Yes, you just have to stay true to it already happening. I think the only problem with that, and there's no reason why you should change this if you want it to be that, but obviously if you need it viral overnight, why do you need that immediate switch? What is it that's like the actual end result? Because if your end result is that financial freedom or, like a successful business, why do you need it to happen overnight? And the other element is, can you handle it happen overnight? Just food for thought there, because I definitely think that the amount of clients that I had now, if I got this at the start of my business, I would have crumbled. I would not have been able to have handled it. So that's mostly food for thought as opposed to trying to change your mind from it. But yes, it is absolutely possible.
I was just gonna say, like, so I actually had like somewhat of a success with going viral overnight, but I realized that part of like my assumptions was that because my posts at the time were getting something like 15 likes, something along those lines. So for me, the version of viral that I was thinking in my head was like over 100 likes, and then yes, that did happen overnight. So yeah, it definitely is possible, but you need to be very specific. I'm not very good at being very specific. So I get my manifestations and go, oh, I was thinking about it wrong. And then I have to like kind of restart again. So being super specific is really important. But like Matt said, I would definitely kind of not want my wax melts to go completely viral overnight, because on one night I was just one day I was just affirming over and over again about how I get so many sales, la la la, and like 4 came in at one time, and I had loads of plans that weekend and all of this kind of thing, and like 4 doesn't sound very much, but everything I do is made to order, and I don't have any sort of storage room for making like stacks and stacks of my melts. So yeah, 4 orders in one night I was not able to cope with it. So yeah, I think it's important to be very careful and be prepared for your products to go sort of viral, because you got to have it all there ready to go, sort of thing.
This is why I think the subconscious mind has an element of needing the dominant state to be what manifests, because you need to actually be ready for it. If I was just like having a thought about, all of these amazing things coming into my life, like for example, earning like £15,000 a month, I then have to figure out how to tax that, like where to store that, like all that kind of shit. And I think this is why you need to be in a dominant state, so you're actually ready for it. So it can happen overnight, absolutely. One second. Sorry about that. We're just discussing some stuff. Katie's going to go off and do something else for a second. She's got something else to do. So if there's any questions for her, I'll call her back in, but it'll probably just be me for the rest of the stream. Summer says, thank you guys. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too. Carolina says, so if we're focusing on the end, but throw in small visualizations here and there about text, etc., but our main focus is the end still working, or are those middles distraction or pushing away? Okay, so pushing away the main manifestation. Thanks for all the help, by the way. Appreciate it. You're very welcome. But okay, so I think what's up?
Oh, I was just going to try this.
Okay, I think it's fine, because you can, as long as you're focusing on it in the right sort of perspective. For example, manifesting text and stuff is fine. You can have that whether you're in a relationship or not. So if you're manifesting a relationship and text at the same time, you could get it as both. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that the text is guaranteed to be in line with the relationship. This is why, if you really wanted to take it that extra step further, you could visualize like loving romantic texts as though you're already together. But no, if it's just like a sort of side focus, I don't think it's going to be the end of like your manifestation, or it's going to push your manifestation away or anything like that. Alex says, no, he broke up with me. Okay, so you're saying that it was your thoughts that had created it. Even more so then, if you were broken up with, then you being the one to chase just shows the lack of self-love, I suppose. So in my opinion, I would advise you let him come to you. Kiati says, by the way, thank you guys for helping me manifest my job and have a solid SC now. I'm a completely new person now. Continue your good work. Happy New Year. Thank you very much for the kind words, and I'm glad that we helped, and Happy New Year to you too. Theory, apologies if I said that wrong. Should I not check my SP's Instagram? Whenever I checked, I saw he's been flirting with girls, and he's always said to trust him. Should I just ignore it and keep affirming he is loyal to me? If you're with him, I would maybe set some boundaries within your own mind. Maybe take a step back. Because like, yes, that's not behavior that you should necessarily be just ignoring. I understand that obviously it can all change, but I think you should also have a little bit more self-respect for yourself, and obviously self-respect reflects out in others respecting you due to everyone as you pushed out. So if you're with him, I would advise maybe taking a step back, maybe even like having a break or something, and just to get your mind in the right place where you're not being disrespected like that. But that's just my opinion. That's not obviously like an LOA thing. An LOA thing would be, look past it and keep affirming that he is loyal. But I do think that if you're going to allow yourself to be treated in such a way, then maybe your self-concept might not be where it should be. If you're not together, then I would say to just look past it. Stop checking the Instagram as best you can. Look past it. I mean, at this current moment, he's a free man, so there's not really much that you can fault him for if you're broken up, obviously. But obviously, staring at it, worrying about it, spiraling about it isn't exactly the best thing for your manifestation, and I would advise you look past it. Caddy said, what exactly is purging? Does everyone go through it? No, everyone does not go through it. Only sort of here and there people will. You may experience a purge with one manifestation, but not with another. The purge is essentially the idea that your subconscious mind is flushing out the old story in order to make way for the new. And in order to do so, it's basically reflecting that old story for you to experience again in order for it to basically be like gone. And then you can impress it with the new story. Summer says, coming back to work with mate soon. Nice. Blanca says, when I robotically affirm I'm married to... Oh, did it skip? No, it didn't skip. When I robotically affirm I'm married to my SP, I'm in his mind because I'm in his life. Okay, I already answered that one. I think that would... You probably just put that again because I hadn't got around to it in time. Dev says, I never asked her to leave, but the dating scam thingy, I never meant for her to leave. Shaking my head. Can you say sorry to her on my behalf? Or no? Misunderstanding. Huge one. Guys, look at your recent chats. I don't want to get scolded. Okay, so... I didn't scold you. I just basically said to grow up because I thought it was actually someone being horrible. Obviously, this wasn't you, so just ignore what it was that I said. But yeah, if there's a misunderstanding, it's perfectly fine. Those happen, especially over like a chat where everyone's messaging at different times. I will let her know that you didn't mean it. But yeah, it's all good. Summer Rain says, for the girl who won SC, Dylan James got a wicked video about being a badass. It's so good. Go check it out then. If it's a really good video, go check it out. And then obviously Katie put her stuff. And then H says, we had a miscarriage and the resultant disconnect, but I have improved by working on myself. Of course, in my imagination, she is with me. I feel her. Well, I'm very sorry to hear that. And I know Katie is as well. That was one of the things that she mentioned when we muted. So yeah, really sorry to hear that. What was your initial part? It was something about the being a woman matter. Oh, yeah, I see. Yeah. Okay, so... Yes, if anything, and I know it's a difficult thing. In my opinion, in my non-LOA opinion, I genuinely would say that this kind of situation would happen potentially as a result. When something traumatic like that happens, people can do some crazy shit. And I think if anything, that could actually not help your situation, as in not the situation, obviously, by no means do I ever want anyone to go through that, but the fact that that was the situation that potentially led to what's going on, my non-LOA opinion, based on what I know of like sort of the human biology and human psychology, is it's probably a bit of like an inner meltdown, and as a result, doing something a bit crazy. I do think she absolutely can love you, especially if you go through something traumatic like that together. Then I think it does, in a lot of cases, bring people closer, especially if you work towards it together. Apologies that I made you say that out on the stream. I hope that you don't mind and I hope everything's okay. But yes, absolutely, you can still get her back. She can still love you based on the situation, but all it will rely on is living in the end, as it is with anything else. But yeah, I do apologize. Carrie Ann Baker says wag one. Oh, wag one. I like that. Random Name says, just wanted to stop by and say Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year to you too. And Nicole J says, feeling a bit better, a little bit. It kind of goes in waves, like it comes and then I feel like really congested and my head feels like there's like 10 tons of pressure and then it will go for a bit and then it comes back. But yeah, I'm going to go rest now, have some dinner and stuff. So thank you everyone for showing up to this stream. I hope everyone had a good time and I hope everyone has a great new year. Tomorrow I've got a cliche video about, what's taken to the 2023 with you. Hopefully you enjoy it. And yeah, stick out to the end and I'll give you some personal sort of experiences of mine that this has helped create. So I will catch you all in the next one. Bye-bye.